Red sky in morning, sailors take warning. Our snow's been melting, but we had a storm on the way, and it ended up being a lot more than I thought it would be. I am up super early. I have been getting up so early. My kitchen is a disaster, was a disaster because we're having trouble with our dishwasher again. And the night before, I just was like not having it. I just went to bed. So here is the mess in my kitchen that I woke up to. It's still dark out, and there's dirty dishes in the dishwasher because, well, we thought it was working. We got it working again, and yeah. And even my family knows what a rough week it's been because there's the beautiful flowers that my daughter Yvonne bought me this week. I've been waking up at like 4 a.m. on the regular. I know I'm not alone because many of you said that you have been having the same problem as me. I get it. So I don't even remember what time this was, but usually what happens is I end up coming down the stairs at about 5 o'clock in the morning. So this is probably about 6 in the morning where I decided, and it's probably dark because of the storm, but I just decided if I'm going to be up, I might as well just get all of these dishes done. And then I was like, okay, if I'm going to do the dishes, let's pull out the camera because somebody else might be having a tough morning too, and I can give some motivation and inspiration to all of you as well. So I'm getting the counter cleaned up so that I can put a big towel down and just wash and wash and wash these dishes. And I'm also going to be cleaning the island so that I can put a towel over there too. My husband has pulled the dishwasher out, like completely out twice. The first time he vacuumed it all up. What's happening is the dishwasher is acting like there's water in there that needs to drain. So it's trying to drain and drain and drain. And I keep telling you guys I have a Bosch dishwasher. No, I don't. I had a Bosch before. But the Bosch that I had wasn't drying the dishes. So then when I went back and got another dishwasher, I ended up with a Samsung dishwasher. I don't have a Bosch. You can even see a little on the top of the dishwasher right there in the corner, like the bottom of the screen. That says Samsung, not Bosch. I'm getting old, people. I can't even remember what kind of a dishwasher I have. I also have a Samsung refrigerator. And I've seen some things online where people didn't like the Samsung refrigerator for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons was they had a hard time with some freezing, melting, freezing going on. I know that Jen Chapin here on YouTube had that problem where at the bottom of the refrigerator, it seemed like she was always cleaning out ice because something was like freezing and melting. And I have never had that problem. What I don't like about my Samsung refrigerator is that you cannot hook it up to a generator when you lose power. For whatever reason, that refrigerator slash freezer does not work with a generator. Okay, that black plate you see, that is from my dishwasher. Then I have the curtain rod because I took down my winter curtain rod. And then those shelves I intended to hang. My husband doesn't like the floating shelves. We have a few around, and no one else has really showed interest. I had said if it doesn't get hung in a week, I'm getting rid of it. I haven't had a second conversation with him, but I have since decided I really don't need them, and I am going to donate those to Goodwill. I've had them for a couple of years. I bought them, obviously, to use them, but then never did. And now I'm thinking I won't really miss them if I get rid of them. Back to the dishwasher. The first time he pulled it out, he vacuumed all up behind it, over it, and honestly, you see like symptoms that a mouse was in there. So then I'm like, did it chew wires? Because I told you guys recently that Leo caught his first mouse. It actually could have been his second mouse because like 3 weeks ago, one of the cats had killed a mouse and it was on my kitchen floor in the morning. Gross. I mean, it wasn't gross other than the fact that it was dead and it was a mouse. Like, they didn't, like, do anything to its body, you know? I think they just played with it to death, poor thing. With this mouse that Leo just caught, we were able to rescue it and get him to drop it from his mouth into a bucket, and then we brought the bucket outside, and we let the little mousey go free to roam the yard and woods and hopefully find another home that doesn't include my house. So anyway, once my husband had taken like the shop vac, vacuumed it all out, tried to make sure everything was dry, he put it back together. It worked for a bit, and then it starts blinking again. Some of you had said that you had the same problem with your dishwasher, and I'm trying to remember if you thought I had a Bosch at the time. Not sure. I have been looking them up online, Originally, I was thinking and assuming I would buy it at Costco because I just upgraded to the executive plan to get 2% cash back. But I gotta tell you, I was a little disappointed by the prices that I was seeing at Costco, like 600, $5.99, 650 for a dishwasher, when I can go to Home Depot or Lowe's, and the price point, even if they're not on sale, is lower. Now, maybe Costco just sells a higher end, and I'm just not respecting the fact that they're carrying a higher end. But like they had one at Home Depot, it was an Armani, and it's like regularly $425, and it was $299. Anyway, I'm all over the place. It worked for a bit, stopped working, so my husband pulled it out. He thinks there's a pump he thinks might not be working. I think he called it a pump. I'd have to ask him again. And a gasket that he thinks, like he just thinks there is a tiny leak that builds up because we've had this problem off and on. So he purchased the item online, and it's supposed to come tomorrow, which is actually the day this goes up. So the day this goes up, we should be getting that part, and he's going to replace it. It was somewhere between $24 and $35 for the part. So he felt like it's worth it to try to fix it. I feel like to have a repairman come out when it is past its warranty isn't worth it. If I can get a sale dishwasher for $299, I really don't want to be getting a repairman out here. And I always feel like there's still a risk that they could, quote, fix it, because it has been an off and on problem. And then it doesn't end up actually being fixed. And it's been my experience that if you call and say, hey, it's not really fixed, they come back and they'll say, well, it's a different problem. I did fix a problem, but this is a second problem I didn't see, and I get charged again. It's not like you pay once and they guarantee that we're not walking out of here till it's fixed. So I just don't feel like it would be worth it at that point. I will say that for stainless steel, I want a fingerprint resistant coating, because I see on my refrigerator, game changer for keeping it clean. You can literally wipe it with a damp rag, not dark, but damp, a damp rag, and then it's clean. On the ones that are not fingerprint resistant, you are going to buff, baby, and buff it out when you clean it with the stainless steel cleaner. If you don't buff it out, and it's very prone to have streaks from water, and the streaks are really hard to remove. So for me, it would be normally very worth it to get the fingerprint proof or resistance, not really fingerprint proof, fingerprint resistant. However, I haven't really found one for like $299 like you can find the other ones. So I'm trying to decide, is it really worth it to me? We're looking at whether or not we're moving this year. And so if I'm moving, definitely not worth it. I can put up with buffing until I move, If I am staying, I kind of would like to have what I would like to have. So we're just going to see what happens, take it one day at a time. This one is not fingerprint resistant. I do have a hard time keeping it clean. I can do it. It's just a bit of a pain in the neck. So I don't want to be too, demanding or high maintenance, but it is just nice as you get older, especially even when I was younger, it was nice because, if I had young children, they'd be drooling all over it and have their hands all over it, and you'd be constantly buffing if you wanted it to look nice. As I get older, it's more about how much energy can I save by having things that stay clean is really what it's about for me. Of course, I don't have to leave my appliances behind when I move, but I picture us leaving our appliances behind. We have in the past, and then if we want something new, we buy new for the new house. So I really don't want to have to put on a house disclosure that the dishwasher works sometimes and doesn't work other times. So I definitely want to get it resolved. I know some of you also have a hard time sleeping. For me, if I'm going to be awake, I would much rather either be doing something I enjoy in that time or doing something productive. And then if I get more tired at night, I'll just go to bed earlier. If going to bed earlier gets me up earlier, again, that's just what's going to happen. I'm not one to take a nap. That could change later in life. But right now, if I do take a nap, if I even can fall asleep during the daytime, I always feel awful when I wake up. I always have such a brain fog and I cannot get fully awake. The whole power nap thing, I really don't even get how it works. I've tried setting alarms, but then I didn't fall asleep and then the alarm goes off too early. It just seemed like there was no way to do it that worked for me. So I'm just not a napper. So I know that at some point I'm going to catch up on my sleep. Meanwhile, so much of life, I think, is the attitude that we bring toward it. My mother always used to say, your life is what you make it. And if I can make it a positive whenever I wake up early, and I have had some mornings, this has happened like twice in the last few months, where I woke up at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning and there was no going back to sleep. I am much happier if I just get up and do something than if I lay there not being able to sleep. And I can sometimes go back to bed after a few hours, and I usually will know because I'll just get really drowsy. Whereas if I'm laying there and my brain is trying to solve the world's problems, you could just feel your brain getting more and more energy, even if your body is exhausted. If that happens, I get up and I leave my bedroom. In fact, and I try to treat it as an advantage. Okay. What can I do if I wake up too early tomorrow? I'm starting to think that way the night before. So I have started bringing my laptop and all of the things I need to edit video downstairs. Or the night before this day, I had brought my camera and my tripod downstairs. Because a lot of times, if I wake up too early, and I don't have anything downstairs with me now that my bedroom is upstairs, I don't really want to be rummaging all around the bedroom, getting my things together and waking up my husband. I would rather one of us gets a good night's sleep. So I am starting to prepare in advance. If I get up early, this is what I'm going to do. And I pack it up before I go to bed and I bring it down the stairs and I kind of semi set it up so that I can still be quiet and do some things that fill my cup or make me feel joy or make me feel productive. I would love to know what you do when you can't sleep or when you wake up way too early. So now my husband is up for the day and he's ready to get working. And we have that red Dutch oven that is sitting on the stove. I had asked him the night before if he wouldn't mind cleaning that for me, and he didn't do it. So he said he would do it this morning. I had asked him to do it just because it's really heavy. And so sometimes, honestly, I just am feeling like I do not even have the energy for this. So he's coming to my rescue before he starts his work day. Woozy's following him because he's thinking, I bet somebody's going to give me food if I just follow them long enough. And I am listening. I had muted the clips here because I am listening to the book Let Them by Mel Robbins. She is a self-help person. And the book is, I mean, you're never going to agree 100% with any book, right? But I will say this book is helping me so much as a mom of adults and having adult kids that are still, they're like in that 18 to 22-year-old stage. So they're, figuring out their life and what they want for life. And you have what you hope they want for life. It is helping me so very much. I just started a membership with Audible, thinking that I could, because a lot of times I'll put a video in my ears, which is really great, but I would like to get back to books at some point. And I find when I am reading, I just don't even have the patience for it right now. I'm too much on the move or I'm too tired. I'm kind of either on the move or too tired to move. And when I'm too tired to move, I'm too tired to read. So it is really helping me to be listening to this book. And I'm getting through it pretty quickly, and it's helping me a lot. And I'm very excited to start the next one. I don't know what that will be yet, but I can certainly let you know if you are interested. Do you like self-help books? What books do you tend to read? I used to read a lot of Christian fiction, but it just got so predictable. I would love to get into some mysteries again. I got into some mysteries or whodunits for a little bit back last year. I read 2 or 3 books, and then I fell away from it again. But I definitely want to get back to more reading. If you're on Audible, you probably know there's a Plus library where you can look through books that don't cost any money at all. And there is one I found called Decluttering for Dummies. And I thought, okay, that might be interesting. It's by Jane Stoller, Stoller. So I am going to take a look at that when I'm done with Let Them. I have 2 hours and 47 minutes left on Let Them. I didn't listen at all yesterday. I usually try to listen to at least a chapter a day. I'm also doing that with the Bible, where I will, while I'm getting ready for the day, I will put my headphones in and I'll listen to the Bible. Right now, I'm listening to First Samuel. Before that, I was listening to the Psalms. But I was remembering that a couple of years ago, my church did this challenge of read the Bible in 90 days. And I remember really loving, and I was surprised that I loved it, like First and Second Samuel, First and Second Kings, First and Second Chronicles, where it's like a lot of the history and a lot of the stories and the narratives in the Old Testament. And I really did enjoy it. I mean, there just was things that stood out to me that I had forgotten about. And so I thought that would be good to kind of listen to. So I'll listen to a couple chapters a day while I'm doing my makeup, or I'll have it in my ears while I am doing the dishes. I have AirPods and I have a love-hate relationship with my AirPods. When I bought them, the guy at Target, actually, I didn't buy them for myself. I was buying them for Yvonne, I think, one of the kids. And then they ended up, my husband bought me a pair, but when I was buying one for one of my daughters, the guy at Target said that they notoriously will kind of block out one ear, and I found that to be true, that one of my ears doesn't always work, which drives me nuts. Also, I just showed you the empty dishwasher because once my husband came down and I kind of was a little bit distracted, I get so distracted so easily, especially by somebody else being in the room when I'm filming, that I forgot to turn the camera on. So there was a part of that I did not get, but so I'm showing you, yes, I did wash all of the dishes that were in the dishwasher. And you can see it's starting to get light outside. And we had probably 5 inches of snow on this day, and the roads were so terrible. Now, in what tends to happen here is the first storm of the season is the worst when it comes to being slippery because the ground isn't frozen yet. So the snow falls, melts, refreezes on the road, and then there's snow on top of that. Well, because we were into spring and things were thawing out, all the snow was melting away. This storm was very similar to that, and I think it just took all of us off guard. I was not expecting it to be this bad. We had even sent Creasy out. Creasy was going to work. Yvonne was like, I'm hearing it's bad. But I said, well, I'm going to leave it up to her. She decided to go. She ended up getting stuck on a hill and she just couldn't go forward. You know how that is. And it is a road that is kind of on a town line between our town and the next town. And I tend to find that those are the roads that don't get treated as well when you're on a town line. It's like each town is expecting the other town to deal with it. So another person kind of pulled up to her and said, hey, if I were you, I would put it in reverse, slowly back down that hill, and get yourself turned around, go back where you came from. So that is what she ended up doing. Robin was just on his way to go out and rescue her, and she was like, I'm fine, and I'm coming home, and I'm just going to tell them at work that I can't come in. But there were so many accidents. And I think it just the same situation where the ground had thawed, and so it was freezing and then snow on top of that. But someone within 20 minutes of us had to be life flighted. There were roads shut down because police were trying to get the cars involved in the accidents off the road. And we live on back roads, so it's not like a highway, but cars were backed up for a very long time, for an hour or so at a time. Also, when you're in that situation, do I back up? And turn around and go back the way I came? Is it going to clear up in a few minutes? Usually you're so far back you can't even see, but boy, was it a terrible storm. And not in that it was a terrible storm, because we could get a couple feet and be fine a couple hours later, but just how slippery it was. And I think people were overconfident because they had done the whole winter being fine, combination with it being extra slippery, taking people off guard. It hit in the afternoon, so people went to work thinking, oh, it'll probably be nothing. It's just going to be slushy. and then they're trying to come home, and it was terrible. So anyway, but finishing up the dishes here, so I decided to use some dishwashing liquid on the sink, and I scrubbed that off and getting it rinsed out good, especially the seam where the sink meets the countertop. It's always good to get that particular spot because gunk can get stored up right there. So it feels so good to have these dishes done. Also, in case you think I'm left unattended, my supervisor was on the job. Okay, this looks so much better. Look at that. It's all clean. It's all shiny again. I might not be thrilled I got up early, but I am thrilled to have a clean kitchen. I really think it's time for me to get going on home improvement projects again. I have so many painting projects, and especially where we're talking about the potential of selling our home, potentially as early as July. It's time for me to start knocking off my list of things that I can do. So often I'm like, I want my husband to do his things because I really don't. I don't know, guys. I have had, just went up and down a couple of flights of stairs. I've had kind of low motivation lately, and I'm just like, come on, girl, let's do it. So let me show you what I'm talking about right now. Over the weekend, we got our new shower rod put up. Oh my goodness, what a difference from having a really old pressure rod that was always falling down. It just, everything is looking so much more finished over here now. So it's time to like trim out. We need to put mop boards down and trim things out, trim out this door. But this right here shows. And for some reason, when I was painting it, first of all, that would need another coat. But I completely forgot that. So I need to do that and see what all needs a second coat. Like this part of it isn't going to show, but this part where I painted is. So it definitely needs to be all white. So I need to go down to the basement and see what I have for supplies for painting. It has been a minute since I have painted, not since what, last summer? So it's time to go take a look down there and see what I have. I put everything in here. So I did have paint tape. I have tons of cloths that can go on the floor. I had gotten this and we had already used it. I actually saw this on Kimmy Cope's channel. She used it and it's really good for covering up, let's just say, my door that I really didn't want to sand down, of just covering it up. So I'm going to put this on and then I'll put my color, which was, it's called Frost. It's Bear's Frost. So even when I get it at Sherwin-Williams, I just tell them Frost, they match it. So, but I'm going to use this because the areas I'm painting have not been sanded. Unfortunately, though, I need to get a small paintbrush. I don't have a small paintbrush, so I will do that. Definitely not today. You might have seen why through my windows. Why am I blurry? Am I blurry? Yeah, you may have seen why through my windows, but let me show you in case you didn't. This is what Maine is giving right now. I took Yvonne to the doctor this morning and it was just starting when we came back. So I will wait. Maybe I'll get paint brushes tonight when it stops. But I am definitely not painting this afternoon. So I'm going to get going. I wanted to clean that bathroom, kind of refresh it, quote, spring clean, which really in that bathroom, I'm just giving it a deep clean. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I also have this end table. I wanted to bring up my furniture polish. My daughter Ava was using it as a bedside table and she doesn't need it anymore. And my grandfather, actually, he used to refinish furniture as a job and he refurnished this piece and it's the only piece that we have in our family. And I have it, so I'm putting it at the top of the stairs and I'm going to put this mirror on top of it. So I also need to check for command strips to see if I have one heavy enough. This is under my stairs going down to the basement and where I keep a lot of like what would be in a junk drawer. Rummage, 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 and you see those really big hooks, but they are missing the command part of the command strip. Okay. I hit a big fat 0 because I put the shells on it. It's a little bit heavy. It was very light. I might have my husband see if he can like put a screw into the wall or I don't know, put something into the wall, or I might have to go get more command strips. So maybe when I get the paintbrush, we'll get whatever we need for hanging that. This is that table, so I'm just going to shine it up, and then I want to put the mirror up over it, and then I can put something decorative on the table. I recognize I need to move it over, just so you know. It's like my bed. Big family problems. As soon as I want to clean the bathroom, someone says, "How long can it be?" "I want to take a shower." But I was like, go for it, because I was going to fill the tub with water and let it kind of soak in the hot water so that all the grime was easier to remove. So I guess they're going to do that job for me, and I get to have a little break. So I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to take a break, and then I'll go in there and clean the bathroom after they take a shower. It is time to prepare supper, and you notice I'm in a different outfit because I actually did film this the night before. So this is what we actually had last night. And since I didn't get good footage of what the chicken, I had actually put a chicken in the oven on this particular day, but I didn't film, it coming out because honestly, I just cook them pretty boring. This is me playing Chopped with my own refrigerator and freezer. So I had these carrots that I decided to cook up. And my family likes it when I put them in a frying pan and kind of let them sweat out and caramelize a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. Then I had pork chops that were in the freezer that I've been meaning to use. Some of them were boneless, and 2 pork chops actually were bone in. But I decided to just throw them in a pan, cook them together. I went on Google to find a pork recipe because I couldn't think of anything that sounded all that attractive that I already make in my repertoire. So I thought it would be fun to have a new recipe. This frying pan was dirty, so rather than get out a clean one, I decided to just wash it real quick and then use it again. Once I found the recipe, I didn't follow the directions at all. I really was just trying to find a flavor profile. So I sprayed down, you saw the avocado oil. I actually sprayed the other pan with avocado oil, and then I realized that this recipe called for a ½ cup of vegetable oil because they're kind of deep frying the pork, and I thought I hate deep frying so much because I hate the smell of it in the kitchen. It gives me a headache. So I did give it some extra oil and I'm letting it heat up, but I didn't do a ton. And I've switched over. Now I'm showing you that I'm using chicken broth, garlic powder, paprika, salt, and pepper. And you know what? Paprika is my new best friend. I've used paprika whenever I see it in a recipe, but I'm realizing I am using it more and more. So I had thawed out these pork chops from the freezer, and you know how I like to wrap them individually in saran wrap. So I'm just putting them all in the frying pan. We did have some leftovers, and this was equally good leftover. This recipe called for a cup of self-rising flour. I did not use that either. So what they wanted me to do was to take the salt, garlic powder, pepper, paprika. It called for mushrooms, which I did not use because some of my family doesn't like them. And they wanted me to mix it with the flour and coat the pork chops and fry them up. I totally did not do that. So what you see is I am cooking the pork chops. So I brown them on one side and then I turn them over to brown them on the other side. I'm just laying I did a half of a red onion and I just sliced it, put it on top. It's going to break down, in the sauce. So then it was 4 teaspoons of salt, which I don't think I really use that much. At the most, I probably use, well, look, you can see, I'm just kind of dumping. I wasn't really worried about it. Maybe that was 4 teaspoons. 4 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of paprika. And then I think I'm sprinkling some oregano in there. I think that's what I was doing. And then it called for, where is it? 2 teaspoons of water, which I did not use. Oh, I know. It didn't even call for chicken broth, but I decided to use chicken broth. that called for 4 cups of water. So I was using chicken broth instead. I did not use 4 cups. I'm just going by what fits in the pan without it boiling over. This made a really nice gravy. So I covered it and I'm simmering it, letting the pork cook through, and then keeping an eye on my carrots. I just keep kind of, you know, flipping them around so they don't get burnt. I wasn't even going to eat the carrots myself because I was trying to be more low carb. So those green beans were for me, and then Yvonne helped me eat those. My toxic trait lately is I forget to show you the plate at the end. So I'm taking the pork out. It's done. I'm going to thicken the sauce and then put the pork back in. This was a big hit. It would have been really good if I'd have chopped up the pork and just put it over rice. The family did also have rice. I completely forget to show you the plate, but I wanted to show you this recipe because it was so tasty. So now I took a couple tablespoons of cornstarch, and I want to keep it gluten-free, which is why I was using cornstarch, but I prefer to thicken with cornstarch anyway. You don't have to use as much as you do with flour, and sometimes with flour I don't like the taste of flour. So now I'm using a whisk and I'm putting in the cornstarch. I'm letting it thicken, and then we put the pork chops back in, and then we're ready to eat. And lately I just let people come with their plates and they get whatever they want from the stove, no serving dishes, and they bring it to the table. So this was our supper on this night. I hope this was an encouraging and motivating video for you. I can't wait to see you next time. Remember, as always, that God loves you and I love you too. To my channel members, yesterday I put up our adoption story on the members only site. So if you are interested in seeing that and you're not a member, I'll put the membership link in the first comment and also in the description box.